I was born when my mother and father were only 17. It forced both of my parents to drop out of high school and each get a JED so they could find work right away. My father, especially, was not happy about this because he had dreams of playing football in college, and instead, he had to work at a gas station. He said to my face many times that I ruined his dream. My mother hardly raised me at all as she had to work too. They had a cranky old lady next door watch me most of the time. She wasn't so bad. She gave me more attention than my parents did. My father eventually managed to land a better job as a manager due to his experience running a gas station. It was right after that my mom got pregnant with my sister. I was 6 when she was born. I wasn't exactly shown much love before that, but once my sister came along, it was made pretty obvious to even my 6-year-old self that I was unwanted. The only ones who seemed to care were my paternal grandparents and somewhat my babysitter. And they were more like my parents because they treated me the way a little kid needed to be loved. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, and as my sister got older, it went from me sharing a bedroom with her to me being kicked out of the room entirely. I slept on the couch for 2 years, and I barely had anything to my name other than clothes, school supplies, and an old Game Boy. When I was 10, my parents decided they were going to move away, but this move did not include me. I ended up actually being fine with this as my grandparents had agreed to take me in. My life was instantly better. I got my own room again, and my grandparents gifted me a brand new N64 in 1996. That Christmas, I got a Game Boy Pocket too, and there were a couple of other kids my age in the neighborhood I got to hang out with. We rode bikes, played video games, shot cans with pellet guns, built forts, and got dirty playing in the creek. Stuff a normal kid would enjoy. I was finally happy. As time went on, I grew up and eventually moved out, but later moved back in to help my grandparents around the house as they were getting old and living off their retirement savings, so some rent money for me went a long way in paying the bills. My grandpa was the kind of person who wanted to build a bomb shelter during the Cold War, but never got around to it. He wanted to volunteer for the military in the 60s, but was turned down due to a medical condition and the fact his eyesight was not great, so he focused on saving whatever he thought he needed. He told me many times it was better to have something and not need it than need it and not have it. Our area suffered from numerous power outages in winter due to heavy winds and storms, so having gasoline and propane for heaters and generators was a must. All these saving habits became my own as time went on, because it was better to need this stuff rarely than not have it at all. Of course, there was the homeowners association bothering us, but that's its own other story. About 5 years back, my grandma passed away suddenly, and my grandpa was heartbroken. He also passed away about a year and a half later. Pretty much everything they owned was willed to me: their savings, their house, their vehicles, their stuff, everything. The house was long paid off, and Grandpa knew how to keep up with its maintenance. In fact, after Grandma passed away, he kind of doubled down on renovating the place. He had the roof redone, the house repainted by us inside and out, and we fixed a lot of little things. Grandpa's neighbor George even came by to help redo the plumbing. Ironically, the homeowners association was rather happy with these changes because the house didn't look run down anymore. One morning, I was fixing breakfast, and my grandpa never came downstairs. You couldn't keep the man from his bacon, so I went to check on him, and he wasn't moving. I called 911 and paramedics came, only to tell me he'd passed in his sleep. My parents made Grandpa's funeral a shit show. They didn't bother to show up for Grandma's, they were too busy. And at Grandpa's funeral, they didn't seem to grieve at all. My sister also showed up wearing a brightly colored designer dress, which I wasn't happy about as it was a church-only function. I noticed my parents repeatedly whispering to each other and glaring at me whenever I looked at them. Come to find out at the will reading that my parents knew that they'd been disinherited long ago for their treatment of me, and they thought it extremely unfair I got everything. They threatened to sue me to contest the will, and I got repeated calls and messages from my father, mother, and sister telling me I needed to do the right thing and give my father what was supposed to be his. I told them all to fuck off in far more unsavory words. My parents ended up taking me to court to challenge the will, but the judge ruled in my favor after seeing the will and hearing us both out, so it wasn't a long, drawn-out legal battle. The judge even looked at my parents with absolute disgust after seeing the will and hearing about their mistreatment of me in my childhood. He called my father a terrible parent and that my grandparents were right to disown him. My father just hung his head in silence, but he made sure to stop me outside the courtroom and tell me I was always the biggest mistake of his life and that if he could go back in time, he'd make sure I never existed. He should have been a football star, and instead, he has to wear a name tag for a 9 to 5. I told him that mistake or not, Grandma and Grandpa could see what kind of nasty person he was. I didn't ask to be born, and the only real love I ever got was from my grandparents, and he was no father of mine anymore. I got a few more threatening and harassing phone calls as well as some letters from my parents, all demanding money among other things, but over time, they just stopped because I completely stonewalled them. I never responded to the emails or letters, and I stayed silent during the phone calls. A few times, I just left the phone sitting on the counter with them ranting till they realized I wasn't listening. Aside from not getting the house or money, my parents seemed particularly irked they could not even get a rise out of me, but I was prepared to go to war against them, and they knew it. So in the end, they just left me alone. From what I know, looking at Facebook the past decade, my sister tried to get into modeling, got married, had 2 kids, got divorced, and is currently unhappily working a job she feels is beneath her. My mother currently works retail and is also vocal about her disdain of it. Like my father, she peaked in high school. She was a cheerleader back then and even had her old uniform framed on the wall. My father has pretty much had the same job for 25 years. He must be good at it if he's still doing it. As for me, well, I'm in my late 30s now, and I live pretty much debt-free in a nice neighborhood. I haven't really had a girlfriend since high school, and I've had little motivation to ever have another relationship. But loneliness gets to everyone, so maybe I'll try to find someone soon. Not many are in the financial position I'm in at my age, single, paid-off house, 2 vehicles, and a decent amount in the bank. I guess I could aim to be a stepfather, that might be more my speed. As the comments say, the best revenge is living well, and it sounds like you're doing it.
If you're around my age, the N64 Bond was the best. I'm glad you had your grandparents. Sounds like you had a rough childhood. Your dad sounds like Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, a guy living in the past full of regrets.
How much do you want to make a bet that I can throw a football over the mountains? Yeah, coach would have put me in the 4th quarter. We would have been state champions, no doubt in my mind. I'm very close with my grandpa. He is absolutely ancient now, so I understand the bond between grandparents and grandchildren. Your comparison with my father and Uncle Rico is pretty close, though I wouldn't say my father was on that level of open denial. Uncle Rico was so badly in denial, he was living out of a van in a field and had no wife or kids. And I never saw my father practicing throwing a football by himself. He does love the Super Bowl though, and kept a lot of football memorabilia around. I can't stand the stuff myself. My mother probably lived vicariously through my sister too, because my sister also was a high school cheerleader. Let's dive into the second story 2. My girlfriend told me she was with a friend, but that friend was with me picking out an engagement ring. How do I confront my girlfriend about her lie? God, this is a doozy. I swear my life feels like a movie right now. Sorry for the weird formatting. I'm on mobile, and this is my first time posting on a sub like this. I, 28 male, am planning on proposing to my girlfriend of 3 years, 26 female. Now I suck at picking out jewelry. I'm the type of guy that doesn't see a problem with heart-shaped jewelry. Seriously, why is it considered so ugly? So every time I want to buy something for my girl, I usually consult one of our mutual friends. My girl's best friends are all friends with me as well, and we all get along well, so asking them for help picking out jewelry is something I'm used to when it came time to pick out a ring. I consulted my girlfriend's best friend Justine. Fake name Justine and I are quite close, and she knows my girlfriend better than anyone including me. So when my girlfriend went out to visit her sister and baby nephew, I invited Justine over to the house to help pick out a ring. Justine and I looked through a few catalogs, but decided it was a dead end, and it would be better to go to professionals at a jewelry store. However, I didn't know when my girlfriend would be coming home, so Justine and I thought of a clever text to gauge how much time we had. I asked her when she'd be coming home, as I was ordering takeout and wanted to know when to tell them to have the food ready by. She responded by saying it would be a few hours. She met up with Justine to go shopping. Now, obviously this took me by surprise since Justine was standing inside my house. I showed Justine the text, and she looked as confused as I was. It isn't out of the ordinary for my girlfriend to meet up with people out of the blue like that for shopping, lunch, etc. She's a very spontaneous person and loves making plans on the fly. So ordinarily, I would have believed this text in a heartbeat. However, obviously this had to be a lie. When she came home, she acted completely normal, and I played along, but it's been really hard to act like everything's fine. We got takeout, ate together, and cuddled on the couch after. So far, she's caught on a little that something's upsetting me, but I just can't tell her what. Looking at her kills me. I don't know what to do. My girlfriend and I have zero trust issues and we tell each other everything, so this lie is killing me. I want to ask her about it so bad, but if I tell her I knew she was lying, I'd have to explain why, and I really don't want to do that. What do? I know she lied to me, but I don't know how to confront her about it. Should I just forget it? This won't stop gnawing at me. Please help. Edit. I'm sorry for the lack of responses. It's been a hectic day, and there's a lot of comments. Thank you to everyone who has commented so far. I appreciate them all. Edit number 2. Sorry again for the lack of responses, guys. It's really been a crazy day. My parents are moving, and I've been helping them. Also, I've never experienced this many comments on a post in my life. I am going to talk to her tonight once we're both finally settled in after such a busy day, and I will update tomorrow. Update: my girlfriend told me she was with a friend, but that friend was with me picking out an engagement ring. How do I confront my girlfriend about her lie? Hey guys. Oh my god, where to begin? My last post got way more attention than I could have ever imagined. Suffice to say, it was a tad bit overwhelming. Seriously, the amount of people begging for an update was a bit dehumanizing in a way. Like I wasn't a person going through something, but more so a story. But I understand, haha. I just want to say thank you so much for all of the support and wonderful comments. I got a lot of great advice that helped me tackle the issue head on. I also got a lot of really kind comments and messages. It was awesome. I also got a lot of comments that made me realize how toxic this sub can be. There were many comments that just said things like she's cheating, it's over, and don't even confront her, just leave. It's advice like that that can ruin relationships that just need a little work. And thank you to the people that told me to hit my girlfriend, told me I was an embarrassment to my gender, and best of all, told me I should encourage an affair because it would lead to great experiences for me later in life. You gave me a good chuckle. On to the update. I decided to confront my girlfriend. I thought about using some of the lies people suggested, but they just wouldn't make sense. To say I ran into Justine somewhere, well, I told my girl I had to stay home and do stuff around the house, and that's why I couldn't go with her to see my Sil. To say Justine was helping me pick out jewelry, it doesn't make sense for her to come all the way to our house to help me pick out a piece of jewelry, unless it was a serious piece of jewelry, like an engagement ring. If I just wanted to get her a piece of jewelry as a gift, I'd ask her friends for suggestions or ask them to send me pictures of jewelry she might like. It all happens over text. None of the excuses made sense, so I decided to be honest. I basically just said that I knew we'd been thinking about marriage, and she probably knew a proposal was coming soon, so I invited Justine over to help me find her the perfect ring, and that so happened to be the day that she said she was going to see her. So what's the deal? She immediately started grinning like an idiot and prodding me about proposing and the ring. But then we got back onto the topic of where she was, and she confessed what she was really doing. No, she wasn't cheating. And no, she wasn't picking out a ring for me. The amount of times that was commented was crazy. So some people are dog people, and some people are cat people. Well, me, I'm a snake person. I grew up with snakes my whole life. But I never felt I was able to get one because my girlfriend has always been uneasy about living with a snake, which I completely respect it. Also, the process of buying and raising a snake is very different than that of buying and raising a dog or cat. It's quite complicated, so you could imagine my surprise when my girlfriend showed me a picture of her holding the cutest Kenyan sand boa I have ever seen. Needless to say, my girlfriend was going to surprise me with a snake. We're picking her up next week. Let me know if you want a pet tax. She's so cute. I definitely did not expect this, and I feel bad for ruining the surprise. But oh well. Life is good. Sorry if this isn't the ending you guys wanted or expected. Just a snake, haha. Thanks for reading. If you've made it to this point, you're a beast.